Hello everybody and welcome back to the Cowdino Arcade. Today we're back with video game therapy. Now today is Sunday. Yeah, I uploaded the last video game therapy yesterday. Probably the earliest I've uploaded a video game therapy, but a similar concept has been on my mind, similar to what I talked about yesterday. If you haven't watched that video game therapy, I would definitely say go for it. Effectively, I've been thinking a lot about intrinsic motivation recently. And if you don't know what that is, in essence, intrinsic motivation is some internal reason to do something. Extrinsic motivation, to define intrinsic motivation by contrast, extrinsic motivation is something outside of your control. For example, you have an assignment due at midnight in 5 days. Your motivation is extrinsic to get it in on time because your grade will be bad if you don't pass it in or something like that. Intrinsic motivation is purely internal. Now, I've struggled with the question of internal motivation for a very long time. It's always been the center of my own thoughts on many matters because it's necessary to do the things that we want to do, but that might not be so easy to do. I don't fully know where to start this, so I'm gonna kick it off with what gave me this mini epiphany. So I'm on keto again. If you don't know what keto is, it's a diet where you effectively, the amount of carbs you can eat in a day is like 1/8 of a bagel. So my breakfast is eggs and bacon, whatever, it's a diet. It's a strict diet, it's a very strict diet. It's not the worst thing in the world though, because you can still eat quite a bit. In terms of like, there are many choices for you. You just can't have bread pretty much. You know, or sugars or whatever. It's not that bad, but I don't know, I like it. But I was not talking to myself this morning. I was envisioning a situation this morning, which is how many of these ideas come about. And I was thinking, you know, keto worked really well for me the first time I did it. I lost, 40 pounds and I was intensely working out. And that combination, I dropped a ton of weight in just a couple of months. Now, why doesn't everyone do it who wants to lose weight? In theory, that's a valid question. But the answer to it, I'm almost at my point. The answer to this question is, if something was easy, then everybody would do it. So if everybody's not doing something, people keep on saying they want to lose weight. I can't just be like, oh, do keto. And they'll be like, oh, sure, yeah, done. Because if it was easy, then they'd do it, right? First of all, keto doesn't work for everyone. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just using keto as an example. I'll get to other examples in just a minute. So and these words have stuck with me. When I was in high school, I was class officer. And I dealt with this annoying situation. And the principal was like, if this job was easy, everybody would have, tried to run for it or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's a fair point. And, excuse me, that was the first time I had heard those words, and I've heard them a few times since. Now, if something was easy, everybody would do it. If practicing art every single day was easy, everybody would do it. If not procrastinating on your homework was easy, everybody would do it. So the question now becomes, well, if everybody's not doing it, so if it's not easy, if keto is not easy, if not procrastinating is not easy, then what makes me able to do this difficult thing? What makes me different than everybody else? First thing is, everybody's on the same level. I decide. Man, VGTs like this are weird because I feel like I have direction, but at the same time, this feels so incohesive. Anyway, we're just around the corner from my mini epiphany. And this isn't gonna probably sound very epiphanical. I was rubbing my eyes for that one. But yeah. So why am I able to do keto? In theory, I might fail in a week. I don't think I will, honestly. In theory, I could though. I could just see a delicious looking cake and be like, all right, we're done. And why can some people study for several hours for an exam to get a score? that's super high or whatever. How can some people practice art for 8 to 12 hours a day, every single day of the week? Because it's clearly not an easy task. I think that's an issue with talent. It makes very difficult things look easy. We see a basketball player on TV make amazing shots or something, and obviously it's like, oh, it's so easy for them. No, they worked very hard to get it. If it was easy, and if making YouTube videos for a living was easy, everybody would be doing it. If the stock market was easy, everybody would be doing it. You get my point. So my epiphany is that the answer to why we're able to do these hard things is intrinsic motivation. But more specifically, it is because having some source of intrinsic motivation allows us to make a choice. So I want to lose a little bit more weight, but I also just want to get in shape, and I also want mental clarity, which maybe it was placebo, but I felt that I had with keto. I felt really good when I was on a diet and eating well. Now, I have a specific intrinsic motivation, internal reason, that I'm not going to share. Same thing as last VGT. But I'm going to take Japanese as an example. And let's say my intrinsic motivation for Japanese is... in a year, I want to apply for the freelance Japanese translation job at Doist, right? Suppose that's my intrinsic motivation. Personally, I don't think that's a great one, but it's a good example. So whenever I have a Japanese work block, I sit down and I pull out the book and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this right now. Ugh. And then I go on Netflix or, whatever platform I might want to go on, and watch TV or go play a game. That is option A. I would procrastinate, right? But the intrinsic motivation gives us a second choice. It creates this secondary choice for us in these moments. So as long as we remind ourselves of our intrinsic motivation constantly, then in these moments, we are more able to say, no, I'm not going to procrastinate, I am going to do this. So in the case of Japanese, we might have, I'm going to go watch TV or something. So pause for a moment there and say, okay, what are my choices? I go and watch TV or I do Japanese. That's the choices on the surface level. But on a deeper level, if you just unpack those for just a moment, you're choosing, frick, I didn't see the rock. You're choosing, and this is hard to explain because I haven't had much time to think about this, but you're choosing between some short-term pleasure, right? That pleases, I don't know, your brain, dopamine, whatever. I want to watch TV, I want to laugh, comedy, ha ha ha, funny, mentalist, looks cool, whatever. I want to watch an episode of TV. I want the short-term pleasure. Or do I want to work for at Doist as a Japanese translator? Well, the option's kind of obvious. The choice there is kind of obvious. Would I rather watch a TV show or become a translator? I would rather become a translator. Very easy decision for me. If whatever your intrinsic motivation might be. For keto, for example, I wake up in the morning, let's say, and I either, I see a bagel sitting there for me, right? Maybe my mom brought it home. Well, okay, I can either eat the bagel or not, pretty much. Eat the bagel or go with the eggs. And the bagel's much easier. I love bagels so much. So the choice becomes bagel or eggs on an objective level. But on a deeper level, on a very on a more subjective level, it becomes, do you want, I don't even know what I would call the bagel, the food you like this morning, or do you want to lose weight and get back in shape? Well, the choice there is pretty clear. I want to lose weight and get back in shape. For practicing art, again, similar thing as Japanese, but you have an hour to do art, you pull out your sketchbook and you just kind of doodle there. I'm not getting anywhere. gonna go play a game. I'm gonna go play Alto's Odyssey and record for a YouTube channel that'll never get above 310 subscribers. Well, okay, I was making fun of myself, but I'm gonna go play a game, whatever. And playing games is not an inherently bad thing, but you know, supposing you've set aside this time to work on art. So you have a choice, go play a game or practice some art fundamentals. That's the objective choice there. And in the short term, it's kind of, I don't know, you know what's easier. It's easier to go ahead and say, I'm gonna watch some TV than it is to say, I'm gonna sit down and practice my freaking 8 mannequins. But then you look at the deeper question, the deeper choice. Do I want a short-term, I shouldn't use short-term because that's incredibly biased for multiple reasons, but do I want to laugh for an hour and with this TV show, or do I want to get my blood boiling with this really fun game for the next hour and a bit? Or do I want to be an amazing artist? Do I want to make this birthday present for a friend of mine by drawing it, which is one of my intrinsic motivations for art? And again, the choice there is very clear. Would I choose a TV show or the ability to make this thing for a friend, right? Well, for me, again, the choice is clear. I would pick that thing right off the bat. Now, the difficult thing is that in every single one of these cases, the first choice, the result is immediate. And the second choice, the result is not so immediate. So you have to, your intrinsic motivation has to be strong enough to override this thing, right? Because, you know, sometimes it's like, do I want this bagel because it's good and it will give me Harvey energy, whatever? Or do I want to lose weight and become fit? Well, when you eat the bagel, you've eaten the bagel, lovely. But when you don't eat the bagel, nothing happens. And that's what's so difficult about these types of things. With Japanese, you watch a TV show, you laugh for a little bit, you get a good kick out of it, and you know, you get roped into whatever, 5 more episodes. And when you finish practicing some hiragana and katakana, after like 45 minutes, you're like, frick, is this one cool or is it oe, ai, frick? You don't get anywhere. Frick the rocks. And that's what's so difficult about intrinsic motivation in general, in my opinion, is that it needs to be strong enough so that you can make these choices. There will be days when it doesn't work, inevitably. Intrinsic motivation will have its highs and lows. But yeah, that's kind of my epiphany here. I woke up this morning, it's Sunday, no runs on Sundays. My legs were hurting a lot for the past 3 days, so I figured a rest day would be good every week. I woke up 6:45, tired as hell. I just had my vaccine shot as well. Hasn't kicked in yet, I guess. I don't think it'll kick in, but we'll see. And what was it? Oh yeah. Sitting in front of the shower. Frick, do I have to do this cold shower? Well, okay, do I want to take a 15-20 minute hot shower that's comfortable and whatever? Or do I want to take a cold shower which represents X? And I'm not going to share X, but right away, there's a mental shift of, yeah, I'll take the cold shower. It'll take me 5 minutes. Not even. And I'm done. When I'm going for food, it's just like, do I want to, you know, keep my old eating habits and keep eating crap, or do I want X? And I want X every time. Under the hood, I want X. And in reality, the second choice is I want to keep working towards X. You know, I want to keep working towards the ability to make this birthday present for a friend. I want to keep working towards the ability to become a Japanese translator. It's just difficult to see sometimes. And so if we can recognize that first breakdown of our willpower, you wake up early in the morning at 6:45 and you go to hit snooze, it's like, do I want this 10 minutes of extra sleep? Or do I want to continue building the self-discipline so that I can get to X? And I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves. And this week feels like it's going to be an insightful week as I challenge the crap out of myself. But I wanted to record this video game therapy while I was adamant about the topic. Because if things are easy, everybody's going to do them. And what makes certain people able to do the difficult things is their intrinsic motivation, is their ability to say, okay, here's the easy choice, but the hard choice will result in this. If I just stay consistent, and again, this ties in with the last video game therapy, staying consistent. Because if I stay consistent and I do an hour of Japanese practice every day, every other day, eventually I will be at a pretty good spot to amp up my learning, to be able to take it to the next level, to speed things up again. Once you learn to read Japanese, you can read short stories and start writing and processing your thought. Once you learn different sound, it's all about consistency. Once you start eating healthy, it's rough at the start, but things will follow. Everything will follow. So yeah, hopefully this was not too rambly and it was kind of enlightening. I think it's a big idea. I might make a main video about it on my high style channel at some point, or perhaps mentioning it in my video that's coming up on imposter syndrome, simply because it's been so important to me these past few days. When I sort of found, I think I mentioned this in the last VGT, but I sort of found this intrinsic motivation that I call X, right? By happenstance, by accident of sorts. And every time, for some reason, I'm doing it for, X, reason X. And immediately my action is, yeah, okay. I don't know. Am I gonna go on a run this morning? Oh, yes. Yes, I am. Intrinsic motivation makes choices much easier. Frick, dude, it blends in so well. So yeah, really dig deep. Find that reason if you can. Really define it if you can. Visualize it. Do whatever works best for you, because if you can first recognize the feeling of apprehension, it's like, oh, I really shouldn't have that, second donut or whatever. Say you're saying, let's just say you're trying to eat less, right? Oh, I really shouldn't have that second donut. But the old lizard brain takes over and says, carbs, sugar, hell yeah, dude. And you're like, all right, and you end up reaching for the second donut. Key forms of addiction. Key forms. It's not, well, anyway, your brain will just do it. You say one more and you have 10 more. And if you can recognize that moment, oh, I shouldn't eat that second donut. I should really work on my paper right now. Pause for just a moment and say, okay, hold on. What are my choices here? Work on the paper or watch another episode of The Mentalist? Okay, well, why do I want to watch an episode of The Mentalist? Because it's entertaining and I feel like I'm learning something about body language, right? Why do I want to work on the paper? Because I want to get it in on time, but also get a good grade because it's interesting. Now, for me, that secondary reason is not good enough. That would not get me by. Perhaps I want to leave a good impression on my professor because my professor teaches a graduate class I want to get into or something. That would be a much better intrinsic motivation for me, personally, at least. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna get these 10 backflips off camera because it's bugging me. Yeah, long VGT today. I'm feeling really good about the idea. I'm gonna think more about it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below or DM me on Discord. I had 2 friends DM me on Discord. It's super cool to see when people watch these and listen to these things and can connect with it, because you're definitely not alone out there. So yeah, have a good one. And as always, don't forget to stay awesome. See you next week.